You ever wonder why some people walk into a room and instantly command respect while others blend in, smiling too much, giving away pieces of themselves to anyone who will take it? The truth is, being overly friendly doesn't win you more friends. It usually costs you power, energy, and sometimes even your dignity. People might smile back at you, but behind closed doors, they're questioning your strength. They're wondering if this person is always so agreeable, so easy to please. What boundaries do they even have? Here's the thing, most won't tell you, the world does not reward those who try to be liked by everyone. It rewards those who carry themselves with intention, those who know when to engage and when to pull back. If you're too friendly, you become predictable, easy to manipulate, easy to overlook. And that's the silent trap most people fall into. They believe friendliness guarantees connection, when in reality, it often guarantees exploitation. So ask yourself, how many times have you smiled when you didn't mean it? How many times have you said yes when you wanted to scream no? How many times have you allowed people to cross lines just because you didn't want to seem rude or unkind? You think you're doing it out of goodness, but deep down, a part of you knows you're doing it because you fear rejection, you fear judgment, and you fear losing people. But let me challenge you with this thought. What if being too friendly is the very reason you're not being respected? What if the thing you think is helping you connect is actually making people dismiss you? What if your friendliness is the mask that keeps others from seeing your true strength? Because here's the uncomfortable reality. Being friendly is easy, but standing firm, commanding respect, and protecting your energy takes courage. And that's exactly what separates the people who are remembered from the ones who are overlooked. When you think about the people you respect the most in your life, really think about them for a moment. Your mentors, leaders, or even a family member you look up to. Do you respect them because they were always overly friendly, always smiling, always saying yes to everything you wanted? Or do you respect them because they carried themselves with strength, because they knew where to draw the line, because they made you feel that their time and attention were valuable? The answer is almost always the second one. Respect isn't born out of friendliness. Respect is born out of boundaries. When someone is too friendly, they lose a certain level of authority without even realizing it. Over-friendliness communicates that you want approval more than you want respect. And here's the reality about human psychology. People can sense it. People pick up on the subtle cues. When your smile lingers too long, when you laugh at things that aren't funny just to fit in, when you agree too quickly, even though you know deep down you don't actually agree. Every time you do this, you're sending a silent message. I value being liked more than I value being respected. And human beings, whether consciously or unconsciously, act on that message. Think about it this way. Imagine a boss who tries too hard to be everyone's best friend. They never enforce the rules. They let people get away with things. They're overly casual. They want to be liked by everyone. At first, the team may enjoy it. They'll laugh, they'll joke, they'll think, oh, this person is so easygoing, but give it some time. What happens when deadlines aren't met? What happens when accountability is required? Suddenly, no one listens. No one takes them seriously because in their attempt to be overly friendly, they lost the very thing that gave them authority, respect. Now compare that to a leader who is fair but firm. They can still be kind, approachable, even friendly when the time calls for it. But there's a line. People know that line cannot be crossed. They know there are standards. They know this person won't be manipulated or played. Over time, that leader might not always be liked by everyone, but they will absolutely be respected. And in life, respect carries far more weight than being liked. Respect builds trust. Respect commands attention. Respect gives you influence. Being too friendly also creates an imbalance in relationships. When you constantly go out of your way to please others, when you're always agreeable, you end up giving far more than you receive. People begin to take advantage of your openness. It's not always intentional. They just adapt to the dynamic you've created. If you're always available, always saying yes, always offering help, people will subconsciously stop valuing your presence because you've made it too easy. Scarcity creates value. If something is always available, people take it for granted. And when you are too friendly, you become too available. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine two colleagues. One is overly friendly, always offering to stay late, always saying yes to extra work, always picking up the slack. The other sets clear boundaries. They're professional, respectful, but they know how to say no when necessary. Over time, who gets more respect? The one who sets boundaries. Why? Because their time and energy are clearly valuable. Their yes means something because it's not given freely every single time. But the overly friendly colleague ends up becoming the go-to for everyone else's problems, not because they are the most respected, but because they are the easiest to use. That's the difference. And let's go deeper. Over-friendliness isn't just about losing respect from others, it's also about losing respect for yourself. Every time you betray your own boundaries to keep the peace, a part of you knows you compromised. Every time you force yourself to be friendly when you're tired, drained, or disrespected, you're telling yourself that your comfort matters less than other people's approval. Over time, this chips away at your self-worth. You don't just lose respect externally, you start losing it internally, and that's dangerous. Because when you don't respect yourself, you unconsciously teach others not to respect you either. Here's the paradox. We believe being friendly will bring us closer to people. And in some situations, it does open doors. But when friendliness becomes excessive, when it becomes your default setting in every interaction, it backfires. People don't admire those who are overly nice. They admire those who stand for something. They admire those who know who they are and don't bend just to fit in. It's also important to realize that not everyone deserves your friendliness. Not everyone has earned that part of you. When you're too friendly with everyone, you dilute the power of your presence. You waste emotional energy on people who don't value it, leaving less of yourself for the people who actually deserve it. Being selective isn't about being cold or unkind. It's about recognizing that respect comes when people understand your value. And your value decreases every time you give too much of yourself too quickly. Now, this doesn't mean you should walk around with a hard face, never smiling, never connecting with people. It doesn't mean you shut everyone out. What it does mean is that your friendliness should be intentional. It should be a choice, not a reflex. You should be able to smile because you mean it, not because you feel obligated. You should be able to say yes because you want to, not because you're afraid of what will happen if you say no. True power comes when your actions align with your values, not when they're driven by fear of rejection. So the next time you catch yourself trying too hard to be friendly, pause and ask, am I doing this because it's genuine, or am I doing this because I want to be liked? If the answer is the second, stop yourself. Respect isn't built on being liked. It's built on being real, on being firm, on standing for something. Because when people know you respect yourself, they have no choice but to respect you too. When you make it your mission to be overly friendly with everyone, you unintentionally put yourself in the most dangerous position possible. You make yourself vulnerable to manipulation. People can sense when you're hungry for approval, when you want to be liked more than you want to be respected. And the sad truth is, not everyone has good intentions. Some people see your friendliness not as kindness, but as an opportunity, a weakness they can exploit. Think about it. Manipulators don't go after the strongest person in the room. They don't target the ones who are firm with their boundaries or who know how to say no. They go for the ones who smile too quickly, agree too easily, and apologize even when they've done nothing wrong. They go for the ones who will bend over backwards just to avoid conflict. Because to a manipulator, over-friendliness is like an open invitation. You can push me, you can test me, you can take advantage of me, and I probably won't stop you. This doesn't just happen in toxic friendships or relationships. It happens at work, in business, in everyday interactions. Take the workplace, for example. You have one colleague who is eager to please, always saying yes to extra tasks, never pushing back. And then you have another colleague who is approachable but makes it clear they have limits, who gets taken advantage of. The overly friendly one. Why? Because people know they won't resist. They know this person will do anything to avoid saying no. And once people discover that about you, they'll keep coming back. The manipulator doesn't need to overpower you. They just need to charm you. And you'll hand over your time, your energy, even your peace of mind without a fight. Now, let's look at relationships. How many people have stayed in toxic or one-sided relationships because they confused friendliness with love, because they were too afraid to upset the other person? Over-friendliness creates a dynamic where you're constantly giving and the other person is constantly taking. And when you finally realize it's draining you, you feel trapped. Why? Because you've trained that person to expect unlimited access to your energy. You've set the tone that you'll always say yes, always forgive, always stay available. And manipulators thrive on that. They twist your friendliness into leverage, making you feel guilty whenever you try to step back, as if you're the bad person for not being endlessly accommodating. What's even more dangerous is how over-friendliness blinds you. When you're so focused on being liked, you stop paying attention to people's intentions, you ignore red flags, you excuse bad behavior, you justify things you know deep down are wrong because you don't want to ruin the connection. You tell yourself, maybe they didn't mean it, maybe I'm overreacting. Well, you're not overreacting. You're just afraid of confrontation. And that fear keeps manipulators close. They thrive on your silence. They rely on the fact that you won't stand up for yourself. And here's the part most people don't want to admit. Over-friendliness doesn't just attract manipulators, it repels the kind of people you actually want in your life. Strong, confident people don't respect someone who tries too hard to please. They might like you, they might even enjoy your company, but they won't trust you with real responsibility or deep relationships. Why? Because they sense that you'll bend under pressure. They know you won't hold the line when it matters. Manipulators love that. But leaders don't, which means the more you rely on friendliness to get by, the more you'll find yourself surrounded by the wrong kind of people. So, how do you protect yourself? It starts with recognizing that friendliness is a tool, not a lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with being warm, approachable, or kind. But when it becomes automatic, when it's your go-to response in every situation, you're giving away too much power. Not everyone deserves your softness. Not everyone should have access to your kindness. If you don't filter who gets your friendliness, you'll waste it on people who see it as a weakness to exploit. Let's put it this way. Your energy is like money. If you give it away freely to everyone who smiles at you, you'll end up broke. But if you invest it carefully, choosing who deserves your time, your trust, and your warmth, you'll build real wealth. Relationships built on respect, not manipulation. And here's the key difference. Respect makes people value you. Manipulation makes people use you. Now understand this clearly. Manipulators aren't always obvious. They don't always show up with malicious intent stamped on their forehead. Sometimes they're charming. Sometimes they flatter you. Sometimes they come across as the friendliest person in the room. But they're watching how you respond. If you laugh at things that bother you, if you smile through discomfort, if you give in to things you don't agree with just to keep the peace, they know they've found their mark. They know they can push and you'll fold. And once they know that, it's game over. That's why it's so important to break the habit of over-friendliness, because once people realize you can be kind without being a pushover, everything changes. The manipulator suddenly sees that you're not easy prey. They may still try, but they won't succeed. And the people who truly value you will appreciate the strength behind your kindness. They'll respect that you don't give it away cheaply. So the next time you feel pressured to smile when you don't want to say yes when you really mean no, stop yourself. Ask, am I doing this because it's genuine or because I'm afraid of losing approval? If it's the latter, you're not being friendly. You're opening the door to manipulation. Close that door. Because your life, your energy, and your respect are worth far more than the temporary comfort of making everyone happy. Every single day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you close your eyes at night, you spend energy, not just the physical energy of moving your body, but the emotional and mental energy that fuels every decision you make, every interaction you have, and every word you speak. And here's the part most people don't realize. Your energy is currency. It's as valuable, if not more valuable, than money. Money can be regained. Energy once spent is gone forever. Yet, so many people throw their energy away like it's unlimited, scattering it in every direction, often on people and situations that don't deserve it. When you are too friendly, you end up spending your energy recklessly. Every smile you force when you don't mean it, every conversation you entertain out of politeness, every yes you give when you really want to say no, it all costs you something. And unlike money, you can't track it in a bank account. You only feel it in the weight of your exhaustion, in the frustration that lingers after certain interactions, in the quiet resentment you feel when you've given too much and gotten nothing in return. That's the bill your energy sends you. And it always comes due. Think about the last time you walked away from someone and felt completely drained. Maybe it was a friend who only calls when they need something. Maybe it was a coworker who constantly dumps their problems on you. Maybe it was even a family member who treats you like an emotional sponge. You thought you were being friendly, supportive, caring. But afterward, you felt empty, like someone had pulled the plug and drained your battery. That's because your energy was spent in a place where it wasn't valued. You gave it away for free, and the return was nothing but fatigue. This is where most people go wrong. They think being endlessly friendly, endlessly available is the way to build strong relationships. But in reality, when you give your energy without discernment, you create shallow connections that cost you more than they give back. Real relationships are built on mutual exchange, not one-sided sacrifice. When you give all your energy away freely, people stop appreciating it. They stop respecting it. Just like money that's handed out too easily loses value, so does your time and energy. Consider how you treat people who value your presence. If someone you admire, someone who doesn't give their energy to just anyone, chooses to spend time with you, doesn't it feel different? Doesn't it feel like an honor, like you've been chosen? That's because scarcity creates value. If everyone has unlimited access to you, your presence loses its weight. But if people know your energy is precious and that you only give it to those who truly matter, then your presence commands respect. Let's go deeper. Imagine you had a bank account that automatically reset to zero at the end of every day. Whatever you didn't spend, you lost. Wouldn't you be intentional with how you spent that money? Wouldn't you prioritize the things that truly mattered instead of wasting it on meaningless things? That's exactly how your energy works. You wake up every morning with a limited balance, and by the time you go to sleep, it's gone. The question is, did you invest it wisely, or did you let other people drain it without a second thought? Here's the harsh truth. People will always take as much as you allow. If you keep handing out your energy to everyone who asks, don't be surprised when you're left depleted. The world doesn't stop to ask, do you still have enough for yourself? That's your responsibility. And when you fail to manage it, you don't just burn out. You start to lose yourself. You lose focus, you lose drive, you lose the ability to show up fully for the things that actually matter to you. This is why being too friendly is so costly. Friendliness takes energy. Listening to someone vent, giving your time to people who don't reciprocate, constantly softening yourself so no one feels uncomfortable, it all drains you. And if you don't set boundaries, you'll spend your whole life funding other people's comfort at the expense of your own peace. That's not kindness. That's self-neglect. Now, let's flip the perspective. What happens when you start treating your energy like currency? Everything changes. You begin to ask yourself, is this person worth the investment? Is this conversation worth my time? Will this yes bring me peace or just more stress? Suddenly, you become intentional. You stop scattering your energy like loose change and start investing it where it multiplies, on goals that build you, relationships that support you, and environments that nourish you. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop giving your energy away freely, the quality of your interactions improves. Because you're no longer saying yes out of obligation. You're saying yes out of choice. People feel the difference. They sense the authenticity. Your presence becomes more powerful, more meaningful, because it's rare. And instead of leaving interactions drained, you leave them fulfilled. This doesn't mean you become cold or selfish. It doesn't mean you shut people out. It simply means you stop treating your energy like it's endless. You recognize its worth. You protect it. You choose carefully who gets access to it. And the moment you do that, you notice something incredible. You gain respect. People stop taking you for granted. They start valuing your time because you've shown them it's valuable. They start respecting your boundaries because you've made it clear you respect them yourself. So ask yourself, Where has your energy been going lately? Who or what has been draining you? Where are you giving too much and getting too little in return? And more importantly, are you willing to start treating your energy like the currency it is? Because here's the truth, your life is built on where your energy flows. If you waste it on pleasing everyone, you'll end up with nothing left for yourself. But if you guard it, invest it, and give it with intention, you'll build a life filled with respect, fulfillment, and strength. Your energy is your power. Stop giving it away freely. Not everyone deserves it. Save it for the people and the purposes that truly matter. That's how you protect yourself. That's how you build respect. And that's how you win. There is a big difference between being friendly with everyone and being friendly with intention. One drains you, weakens you, and makes people dismiss your presence. The other elevates you, commands respect, and creates relationships that actually matter. Selective friendliness is not about being cold or unkind. It's about understanding that your time, your energy, and your attention are valuable. When you learn to be selective, you stop chasing approval and start building respect. To think about how you feel when someone you admire, someone who doesn't just hand out their attention to anyone, chooses to spend time with you, doesn't it feel different? Doesn't it feel like their presence carries weight? That's because you know they don't give their energy away cheaply. You know that if they are with you, it's intentional. That's the power of being selective. The less available you are to everyone, the more valuable you become to the right people. On the other hand, when you're too friendly, too accessible, people don't appreciate your presence. They may like you. They may even enjoy being around you, but deep down, they don't respect you. Why? Because you've made yourself too easy. Anything that is always available loses its value. And the same is true with your friendliness. If you're smiling at everyone, giving everyone your time, engaging in every conversation, people will subconsciously think your attention is cheap. But if you choose carefully who you give that energy to, people notice. They feel the difference. And suddenly, your presence commands respect. Selective friendliness also helps you build stronger connections. When you try to be friendly with everyone, your interactions are shallow. They lack depth because you're spreading yourself too thin. But when you're intentional, you invest your energy into fewer people, people who truly matter. That's when relationships deepen. That's when trust is built. That's when respect becomes mutual instead of one-sided. You can't have depth if you're busy trying to be liked by everyone on the surface. Here's another thing. Selective friendliness shows confidence. It shows that you don't need everyone's approval to feel secure. People respect those who don't chase after validation. When you're selective, you send the message. I know my worth. I know not everyone deserves my time. I choose where I place my energy. That kind of confidence draws people to you. It makes them curious. It makes them want your attention because they know it isn't guaranteed. This plays out everywhere. At work, in friendships, in family, even in dating. The person who is too friendly, too eager, too available gets overlooked. The person who is warm when necessary but also knows how to set boundaries becomes magnetic. Think about dating for a moment. If someone is overly friendly with everyone, flirting with anyone who gives them attention, do you feel special when they're kind to you? Probably not. But if someone rarely shows that side of themselves and then they choose to share it with you, it feels powerful. It feels exclusive. That's the difference selective friendliness makes. It creates value. Now, some people confuse selective friendliness with arrogance. They think, if I'm not open to everyone, I'll come off as rude or standoffish. But that's not the case. Selective friendliness doesn't mean being cold. It means being intentional. It means you're approachable, but you're not accessible to everyone. It means you treat people with respect, but you don't hand out your trust or your time just because someone expects it. The truth is, you can be kind without being overly friendly. You can be polite without being overly available. And when you strike that balance, you gain power. Selective friendliness also protects you. It shields you from people who want to take advantage. When you're friendly with everyone, you attract manipulators, users, and energy drainers. But when you're selective, you make it harder for those people to get close. You're not easily swayed by charm or flattery. You don't open yourself up to just anyone. That level of discernment keeps you safe and keeps your energy focused on people who deserve it. There's also a psychological impact here. When you're selective, people actually value your friendliness more. A compliment means more when it doesn't come from everyone. Your smile means more when it's not given to everyone in the room. Your time feels more precious because it's not easily accessible. Selective friendliness increases the weight of your presence. It's not about being less kind. It's about making your kindness count. But let's be honest. Being selective takes courage. It's easy to be overly friendly. It's easy to keep saying yes. It's easy to avoid conflict by always smiling and being agreeable. What's hard is saying no. What's hard is protecting your boundary. What's hard is risking that some people may not like you. But here's the truth. Likability is overrated. Respect is what lasts. Respect is what builds trust. Respect is what opens doors. And you don't get respect by pleasing everyone. You get it by being intentional, by being strong enough to say, not everyone gets access to me. So here's the challenge. Stop trying to be everyone's friend. Stop giving your energy away to people who haven't earned it. Stop smiling when you don't mean it. And stop saying yes when you really want to say. Start being selective. Start recognizing that your presence is valuable. Start treating your energy like a gift, not a free sample. Because when you do, people will feel the difference. They'll respect you more, they'll take you more seriously. And you'll start building relationships that are rooted in value, not just surface-level friendliness. Selective friendliness builds power because it communicates self-worth. It builds respect because it forces people to recognize your value. And it builds stronger relationships because it focuses your energy where it actually matters. So the next time you're tempted to be overly friendly, just to keep the peace or avoid discomfort, remember this, your energy is precious. Don't waste it on everyone. Save it for the ones who truly deserve it. That's how you create power. That's how you build respect. There's a dangerous misconception in the way people view kindness. Too often, kindness gets mistaken for weakness. People assume that if you are kind, you must also be naive, soft, or easily controlled. The same thing happens with friendliness. Many assume that when you are friendly, it automatically means you accept them, that you trust them, or that they have the right to cross your boundaries. But the truth is this, kindness is not weakness, and friendliness is not acceptance. They are choices. And those choices must be intentional, not automatic. Let's start with kindness. Kindness is a strength. It takes strength to treat people with respect, even when they don't treat you the same way. It takes strength to remain calm when others lose control. It takes strength to forgive when you could just as easily seek revenge. Weakness doesn't do those things. Weakness lashes out. Weakness avoids responsibility. Weakness folds under pressure. Kindness, on the other hand, is deliberate. It comes from a place of control, not fear. But when you are kind without boundaries, when you're kind to people who use you or disrespect you, that's when others begin to mistake your kindness for weakness. They assume you'll tolerate anything because you won't fight back. The same applies to friendliness. Being friendly is not the same as giving people full access to your life. A smile is not permission. A handshake is not trust. A conversation does not equal commitment. Friendliness should be a gesture of goodwill, not a contract of acceptance. But if you don't make that distinction clear, people will cross lines. They'll assume your friendliness means you approve of them, even if you don't. They'll take liberties with your time and energy because they think your warmth means you'll always be available. And if you're not careful, you'll end up giving parts of yourself to people who haven't earned them. This is why boundaries are essential. Kindness without boundaries is enabling. Friendliness without boundaries is misleading. You must learn to separate the two. You can hold the door open for someone, but that doesn't mean you'll let them walk all over you. You can listen to someone's problems without making yourself their permanent emotional dumping ground. You can be polite in conversation without inviting someone into your private world. This is the balance most people struggle with. They believe that if they're not overly friendly, they'll seem rude. Or if they're not endlessly kind, they'll seem cold. But the truth is, you can be respectful and warm without compromising your dignity. Think about the people who have left the deepest impression on you. Were they the ones who bent over backwards for everyone, who tried to be endlessly friendly and agreeable? Or were they the ones who carried themselves with quiet strength, kind, yes, but firm when needed? Those are the people you remember. Because they showed you that kindness is a choice, not a default setting. They showed you that friendliness is a gesture, not a weakness. And they left you with respect, not a feeling of superiority over them. The danger of allowing kindness to be mistaken for weakness is that it puts you in a cycle of giving without receiving. You become the person everyone turns to for help, for comfort, for favors. At first, it might feel good to be needed, but over time, it starts to feel draining. You realize that while you've been giving, others have only been taking. That's when resentment builds. And here's the irony. You may think that by being endlessly kind and friendly, you're strengthening relationships, but in reality, you're weakening them. Because healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not on one person constantly sacrificing for the other. Another problem is how this behavior affects your self-image. When you're too friendly, when you say yes to everyone, when you confuse kindness with letting people cross boundaries, you start to lose respect for yourself. Deep down, you know you're compromising. You know you're saying yes when you should say no. You know you're smiling when you want to walk away. And every time you do it, a part of you feels smaller. Over time, this erodes your confidence. You start to believe that maybe your voice doesn't matter, that maybe it's easier to just go along with whatever others want. That's how people lose themselves. Not because someone else took their power, but because they kept giving it away under the disguise of being friendly. But when you recognize that kindness is strength, everything shifts. You realize that kindness is powerful precisely because it's not required. You don't have to be kind. You choose to be. You choose to respond with grace, even when anger would be easier. You choose to show respect, even when others don't deserve it. That's not weakness. That's control. That's mastery over yourself. And when people see that, they don't see weakness. They see strength. The same goes for friendliness. When you're intentional about who gets your friendliness, people value it more. If you're warm and open with everyone, it loses meaning. But when you're friendly selectively, when you offer it as a genuine act, not a default habit, it carries weight. People feel it. They respect it. They know it's real, and they don't confuse it for permission to cross boundaries. The key is learning to communicate through your actions that your kindness has limits and your friendliness has conditions. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to explain yourself. People can sense it when you carry yourself with self-respect. They know when you're being kind out of choice, not out of fear. They know when your friendliness is genuine, not forced, and they respond accordingly. So the next time you catch yourself worrying about being too harsh or too distant, remind yourself, kindness is not weakness, it's strength wrapped in compassion. Friendliness is not acceptance. It's a gesture of goodwill, not a lifetime contract. You are not required to give yourself away to be a good person. You are not required to smile through discomfort to keep the peace. The strongest people are those who know how to balance both, who can be kind without being taken for granted, and who can be friendly without letting everyone into their inner circle. When you master that balance, people treat you differently. They respect your boundaries. They value your presence. They know that when you're kind, it's real. And when you're friendly, it's intentional. And that respect, that power, is worth far more than being liked by everyone. Life is too short to spend it trying to please everyone, smiling when you don't mean it, saying yes when your soul is screaming no, and giving your energy away to people who have done nothing to earn it. Being too friendly might feel safe in the moment, but it robs you of respect, drains your energy, and leaves you open to manipulation. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your kindness, your time, or your presence. Respect is not built by being liked. It's built by having boundaries. It's built by knowing when to be warm and when to be firm. It's built by understanding that your energy is currency, and you cannot afford to spend it recklessly. When you stop being overly friendly and start being intentional, you shift the balance. People stop taking you for granted and start taking you seriously. They stop seeing you as someone to use and start seeing you as someone to respect. So here's a message you need to carry with you. Stop confusing kindness with weakness. Stop confusing friendliness with acceptance. Your smile is not an invitation. Your yes is not automatic. Your presence is not free. You are valuable, and value demands boundaries. Choose to be friendly when it's right. Be kind because it's your strength, but never give yourself away just to be liked. If you want to stand out, if you want to be respected, if you want to live with strength and dignity, then stop being too friendly. Be intentional. Be selective. Protect your energy, because the moment you do, everything changes. Your relationships, your opportunities, your life, and the world will finally see you, not as someone who blends into the background, but as someone who commands respect. The moment you walk into the room.